Good morning, friends.
Good morning.
And happy early Merry Christmas. I hope that you have had the opportunity to enjoy the special time of year that we are finding ourselves immersed in. We know that there are all kinds of stories and traditions surrounding this particular season. Now, because we live in our country, which is predominantly a Christian country, the birth of the baby Jesus is a very popular tradition, and it's something that many people really treasure at this time of year. Well, as spiritualists, we don't put quite as much emphasis on that particular event, but more so on what it symbolizes and the whole idea of peace that we should all be holding dear in our hearts. You know, the story of Jesus came about and has been embellished a great deal over the years. At that particular time in the world, there was a lot of brutality. There was a lot of hostility, and the common people needed hope. They needed some promise, something to hold on to, other than the day-to-day hunger, the day-to-day battles, the day-to-day being held under a strong ruler's thumb. And so the story of a babe being born in a manger because there was no place decent in the inn. The story is that people had come from all around to pay taxes. Well, that's something we can all relate to. But even the stories in the Bible don't quite connect. Between the books of Matthew and Luke, there are variations. One book says that 3 wise men, or the wise men, came to the manger. And another chapter of the book of the Bible talks about, and this was in Luke, that the men came to visit the small child at home. So there are variations, but that doesn't mean we throw everything out, does it? It means that the Bible is put together and was written by many different men. And so the stories have changed somewhat over the years, as most stories do when told and retold. But as a child, I thought, gosh, this just has everything. And it really does appeal to not only children, but the child in all of us. I mean, the idea of shepherds guarding their flocks of sheep, and everyone seeing this bright star. And the sheep could not be left alone, so not all of the shepherds could go, but at least one did, and wanted to see what this bright star was illuminating. We get the idea of 3 kings coming on camel due to the song, We 3 Kings. None of that was mentioned in the Bible, other than wise men came and brought gifts to this newborn child. Conversely, there's a popular Christmas song, and one of the verses say, "The little child shivers in the cold, let us bring him silver and gold." Well, I'm sorry, any mother, any woman, and most men would know, if a baby is shivering in the cold, don't give him cold metal, don't give him cold gold. Bring the baby a blanket. Bring the baby something to wrap him in to keep him warm. But of course, silver and gold have always been very precious metals, very valuable, able to be used all over the world. So I can see that that song meant well, that people would want to bring this hope, this child of hope, valuable gifts. I am not making fun of the biblical story, quite the opposite. It brings so much hope to so many people, because this baby Jesus was born a commoner, very humble beginnings. We know from reading the Bible further on that he was not an only child. He ended up with brothers and sisters. And he was raised as ordinary children are. He began to show his gifts as his body began to change into manhood. And that's when he became ever more spiritual, which is probably a good thing. Can you imagine being a brother or sister of someone like Jesus if he had been treated as a deity from the very beginning? No. He was raised a child within a family, a large family of children. And that's how he came to understand people and their frailties. That's how he came to understand that life can be cruel, that life has held hope. So that's why he became such a popular symbol of everything godly, everything spiritual. He preached love. He demonstrated love. He didn't care what a person's clothing was. He didn't care where a person came from. He gave unconditional love. We know that he understood natural law better than the huge majority of humanity. Now, other religions do have their own leaders, their own spiritual men. And all of these people were master teachers. They were incredible healers because they all understood that God is everywhere and within everyone. Jesus never said he was the only Son of God. Never, ever. It was said about him by people who wrote this book called the Bible centuries after he lived on the earth plane. But he said we're all children of God. And he said anything that he did, we could do as well. When he talks about he was the way to God, he didn't mean he was going to have to suffer and die to teach us and to guide us. He meant that we have that within ourselves. And if we will put others first in our hearts, and if we will worship a God of love and peace, then we can share that wonderful gift of unconditional love with absolutely everyone. Jesus healed people that other people didn't want to go near. If someone had leprosy, others just didn't want to be near them. They were so afraid of this dreadful disease. Jesus gave pure love, and the healing flowed forth from him, and people were healed. Our healers have done some pretty remarkable things, even today. They don't profess to be Jesus, but any wonderful spiritual healer will tell you the healing doesn't come from them. The healing comes from God, infinite intelligence, as we call God. We all worship the same God, may have many different names depending on our country, depending on our language. But isn't it wonderful that no matter what particular religion anyone may be, we all have the same God, and we are all connected. Remember that when you watch the news and it's something dreadful, because unfortunately it's that sort of thing that usually makes the news. Remember that no matter who is doing what, where in this world, we are connected. It's easy to connect with the victim. It's quite challenging to connect with the perpetrator, and yet that individual is a child of God. And God does dwell within, and we think, how can this be? How can this be that God inhabits some of the people who seem to do the most cruel things? God is still there. That individual has shut the door, does not want to open him or herself. As spiritualists, we know we can't do it for anyone else. I wish we could. Oh, wouldn't it be wonderful? We can only do it for ourselves, and then if we want to apply ourselves. And I'm looking at very familiar faces today, and I know most of you pretty well. And I know what you do for others. No big pats on the back. No pats on the back required or even invited. You just do the things that you do because of your love for fellow men and women, for pets, for all living things. Because there's that connection. There is that connection. We have all kinds of things this time of year. We have nativity scenes, we have Santas, we have reindeer, we have snowmen, which is really a concept for a child who may have never seen snow. And we see all these wonderful specials on television, and we hear all the things that are going on. And if we will allow ourselves to get caught up in just the excitement, the hope that the season promises. I used to beat myself up because I was working, I had a husband, I had pets, I had 3 sons at home. And I thought, why doesn't our house look like all these women's magazines' homes? I'd be lucky to get a few things made in the way of special treats, but my gosh, I did not have 20 varieties of cookies, every single one frosted and decorated. I didn't send out 500 cards to our nearest and dearest. And I thought, I am such a failure. What is wrong with me? I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a woman, I'm supposed to be doing this. Finally, one of the women's magazines fessed up because they had gotten so many letters from women who were saying, I feel so inadequate. I cannot keep up with everything you have in your beautiful magazine. What is wrong with me? Well, this magazine fessed up. They had something like 10 people on their staff who worked year-round, exclusively on what would be their holiday issues. And I thought, well, shoot, I need a staff of 10 that can work year-round, and then I can have our home looking like that too, and I can make all these wonderful goodies too, and I can be perfect too. Did my husband ever make me feel inadequate? No. Did the boys ever make me feel inadequate? No. I chewed myself up instead. And I can't believe I'm the only woman, and I know some men that do that too, that are so hard on ourselves. We keep forgetting that we are human. Yes, God dwells within, but we are here having a very human experience. And we are meant to have some ups and downs. That's life. But we're meant to know the joy of God in our heart, and we're meant to have that hope. Every day truly is a new beginning. And we all know people who are so much worse off than we. Some people fake it really well. Some people hide it really well. Some people are very open about their problems. But I hope every morning when you awaken, you ask Spirit to come in close. Let God work through you, because you never know what someone else is going through and what that one smile can do. You know, I have been really, really down. And there were good reasons for that. And when you call a counseling center and you're crying and you say, I just can't go another minute. I need to talk to a counselor now. And a chirpy little voice says, oh, I'm sorry, they're all in a staff meeting. Can you call back in an hour? Well, you know, I laughed. And I thought, well, if I can laugh, then I'm not as bad off as I thought. About 3 months later, went through another rough stretch. Called again, crying again. Can you believe another staff meeting? I thought, okay, Spirit, I get the message. I'm supposed to do this on my own. And the thing I found out was I needed to get outside of myself and start thinking about other people. I needed to get outside of myself, knowing I was still here for a reason, knowing that Spirit is with me. And I am very pleased to say I never had to call them again. There have been times of great hardship and great heartache with many of you. And yet you're here today. You are surviving. And I hope you have learned, and if you're in the middle of something, I hope you will keep that hope and that knowledge that you are not walking this earth plane alone. You have your spirit guides, and they are with you. And if you are not feeling them, seeing them, or hearing them, maybe it's because you're so wound up in yourself. They're having a hard time getting through. So see what you could do for someone else. Just see something you could do for someone else. Pick up the telephone and call someone, and don't go on and on about your own problems. Ask them how they're doing. And if they're having a hard time of it, then you give them the hope. You give them the encouragement. And see how much better you feel by the time you hang out. Friends, it takes nothing to say a prayer for someone, to give a smile to someone, to do a little something for someone. This season truly is not about money. This is a season of peace, of love, of caring. To me, that's the real Christmas story. And that's the one I hope you'll keep close in your hearts, so that you really will have a blessed, peaceful